Hey, and welcome back. Today we are going to start taking the engine out of the MK1 Rabbit. First thing I'm going to do is lift it up a little bit, and then I'm going to start removing everything from the top side. My plan is to take the engine out the bottom, so I'm going to undo everything on the top and undo the transmission, and then undo the axles, take the alternator, starter off, radiator out, and hopefully drop the engine out the bottom of the car. Bring the motor and tranny out as one, put the tranny and a new clutch onto this engine, put it back all back into the car, and hopefully it runs. So I'm going to be videoing the entire process, hopefully, and hopefully y'all can follow along. It's not going to be a real detailed video of how to do the job or anything. I'm going to show you how I do it and take it as you like. So anyway, I'm going to get started, and I hope you all enjoy the video. What I'm doing now is lifting the car up with floor jacks. I got one on each side, and I'm just lifting it up evenly, and then I'm going to block it. I don't want it too high because I still want to be able to get everything off on the top side, but I'm going to have to lift it quite high when it comes time to drop the motor out the bottom. So we'll just do what we can do. I just need a flat wrench, unbolt the two clamps, undo the 13mm bolt that holds it down, and remove the battery from the car. Battery tie down, 13mm, loosen it off. And you'll be able to get your battery out just like that. And there it is. And moving the battery is as simple as that. Keep these out of the way for now. Next thing I'm going to do is remove the radiator. So I'm going to have to drain the coolant. The car's up on the jack stands now. I used the floor jack on each side of the car to lift it up evenly. And I still have quite a bit of jack left. So when my motor's on the floor, I'm hoping I can come up that little bit more and be able to pull the motor out from underneath the car. That's my intentions anyway at this point, so we'll have to wait and see how that goes. And I'm going to take the bottom radiator hose off and let the engine and the radiator drain themselves of coolant. See, there's some sort of a coolant leak down here anyway, so good thing it's all coming out. .5 liter naturally aspirated diesel. It's chronically prone to head and head gasket problems, and that's exactly what's wrong with this one. I got a 1.6 liter, better engine, and I'm going to be installing it, and that's what you're watching. It's out of a 1981. There comes some coolant. Make sure you keep your clamp, unless you're getting new ones. I don't like to buy new things. Let that drain for a few minutes until it stops dripping. Alright, while we wait for that to drip, I'm going to take off the top rad hose and prepare the radiator for removal. A little bit of coolant out of there. When you take the top rad hose off, it'll start draining more out the bottom. Just a little bit of air. And I'm just putting the parts on the roof of the car, like the rad hoses and pieces that I'm going to need again. We'll undo this line from the radiator that goes to the coolant overflow tank. Somebody's got a zip tie holding it. I'm going to snip that out of the way for today. And we'll roll this hose up and put it over there. We're also going to remove the hose that goes to the bottom of the coolant overflow reservoir, or fan wires. And then there's a little metal thing here that holds your radiator in. You just have to be patient with it and wiggle it out. There's a little retainer on here that holds this on here so the rad doesn't come out. You just have to get it out of the way. enough to get this out. There, that way that'll just stay on there and we won't lose the clips or anything like that. There's a couple of bolts in the bottom of the radiator. We're still banging away on the engine job here. I've removed the wiring harness right here and tucked it away. I labeled each and every one where it goes. There's not very many wires on these. There's a wire on the head right here that goes to the oil pressure sensor. There's 2 wires down here right where the hose goes on. There's a wire that goes right here on your injection pump. Just move my magnet out of the way. Right here, that's for your injection pump. And the other one goes down here, right there, for the glow plugs. Other than that, there's not really any wires on the engine. There's no more. The other one, the large wire, which you can't really mistake, it's obvious where it goes. I also labeled it starter right there. It's a big cable, it's right here. It's labeled. Then there's the small wire that also goes on the starter. It's in the engine wiring harness. That's how the starter knows whether to engage or not. I labeled it. I need to disconnect the wire from the alternator. Just unplugs like that from the back of the alternator. I'm just going to tuck that up out of the way here. A small ground wire right here that I'm going to have to take off the back of the alternator. And then I'll also have to loosen the belt on the alternator. Right there's the belt. Then we're going to have to still remove this air box and our fuel canister and have them out of the way. The transmission linkage right here with the cotter key. Pull the cotter key out and pull it out of there. Right there. It's just a rod with a hole in the end and it just goes through there. Cotter key on the end. There it is right there. It's the rod with the cotter key stuck in so I don't lose it. And then the one other linkage rod at the back, it just has a little cap over the end that snaps over the end. You just unsnap it and pop the rod off. Also fairly simple. Pretty soon we're going to be able to undo the axles and motor mounts and start lowering the engine. But I'm going to let you guys follow along as I continue to slowly dismantle and remove this engine. Just going to keep on keeping on. I think I'm going to pull the starter and the alternator off now. Probably this air box might as well come off right now. Just going to put the parts of it in there. Air box out of the way for now. Right there's fine. That out. 8mm Allen head undoes the bolts for the starter. One on the top, one on the bottom. And then you just pull the starter off like so, with the bolt still stuck in it. Set it off to the side. We move on to remove the alternator. Now I'm removing the alternator. There's 13mm bolt in the top with a nut on this side. You just take it out, and on the bottom there's a 13mm again. You'll see it from underneath going up into a bracket. You just loosen it, and then you can take the belt off. The alternator moves like this for adjustment. To tighten it, you pull it all the way up and then tighten the bolt and it keeps your belt tight. But we're trying to get the belt off, so we go like that. Now the belt's off the alternator. Just got to pull out these 2 bolts and the alternator will come out. I'm going to take and put the bolt back into the alternator so I don't lose it, with the washers on the end and the nuts. And that way I'll know where it goes. I like putting as much back on as possible for that reason. And now the alternator is out, and that can be set aside. There's the belt. Now I just gotta undo the diesel lines, canister. Oh, that diesel line's so brittle it just snapped, so we won't want to be reusing that anyway. Cut this old rotten diesel line off, just like that. This one might leak if I don't kink it, so probably have to kink it back on itself like so. Remove the fuel line off of the injection pump on the top here. Fuel line, the rest can stay. That's just about it for the top. I just got this cable for the injection pump advance. The cable for the injection pump advance is the only thing left. Just have to get it off of there. It's got a straight screw head that you loosen a few turns if I can get down there. I'd probably turn it about 4 turns. Should be enough. There's a little clip. There, I just pulled that off with the needle nose pliers. There's a little